Hare Krishna. I am Krishnananda Das. I was born and brought up in Mumbai. In the year 1962 I was born. And I was doing my schooling in one of the schools in Santa Cruz. And my parents came from a religious background. So I was introduced to Krishna Bhakti and some concepts from my childhood. However, I was always very eager to find out the proper path to attaining Krishna consciousness. So from the age of 12, I was visiting different temples and ashrams in Mumbai along with doing my school education. Sometimes in the morning and the evening, I would go to different ashrams and attend their Bhagavad Gita classes. And I was, of course, quite influenced by many of the ashrams in Mumbai. But I was not quite totally satisfied. And then one day, I was in one of the temples, and one of my friends who used to visit the temple gave me a copy of Back to Godhead magazine. This was in the year 1976, when I was about 14 years old. So when I read this magazine, I was very much impressed by the presentations of Srila Prabhupada and their disciples in the clear-cut understanding of the philosophy. So just by reading this magazine, I wanted to know who is this founder Acharya and where is the temple. So I looked back on the back cover of the magazine and I found the address, Hare Krishna Land, Radha Ras Bihari Mandir, Hare Krishna Land, Gandhi Graham Road, Bombay 400054. So I went looking for this temple, and by Krishna's mercy I could reach the temple. And that was just the time when the Radha Ras Bihari temple, Jehu temple, was a small temple, a tin shed where Radha Ras Bihari deities were staying, in a small temple hall. And I reached around evening time and was very fortunate to have the darshan of the deities. And the devotees there were very kind, and especially I being very young, they gave me special mercy. I was seeing in the bookshelves there were all the different beautiful books of Srila Prabhupada, and especially the Chaitanya Charitamrita had just arrived. So the devotees, they invited me to come and take prasad with them. So gradually I developed friendship with the devotees and started coming on a regular basis. This was in the year 1976 and early 1977. And I was in the 9th standard. Then in March of 1977, we got the news that His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada was coming to Mumbai. And I was excited, as all others were, to meet Srila Prabhupada. So devotees were all going to attend Srila Prabhupada's lecture, which was to be held near VT station, Azad Maidan. This was one of the last public programs of Srila Prabhupada in Mumbai city. And I went there. Of course, I was too young to really comprehend the philosophy or the greatness of such a divine personality. But somehow that even at my very immature stage of life, I could have some glimpse of understanding of the greatness of Srila Prabhupada as Srila Prabhupada came to the stage. And because I was with all the full-time devotees, I was also allowed to be very near him, and we could attend Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Every day, morning and evening, Srila Prabhupada would deliver lectures, sometimes in English and sometimes in Hindi. So although because of my young age, I was not really competent to understand Srila Prabhupada's words in great depth, I had this feeling that this personality is not an ordinary person. And I was impressed with the clarity of presentation of Srila Prabhupada, and also the fearlessness in which Srila Prabhupada was presenting the messages. One thing is that, as you know, this was the year 1977 when Srila Prabhupada, this was the last year of Srila Prabhupada on this planet, and Prabhupada's health was frail, was weak. But in spite of his health, he would regularly come all the way from Juhu till the southern part of Bombay and give these lectures. So in this way, I was attending Srila Prabhupada's lectures in this Pandal program. And then later on also Srila Prabhupada would give classes in the temple, morning and sometimes evening also. And this transcendental sound vibration very much influenced the direction of my life. I was inspired. At that time, some of the local leaders, they encouraged me that now you are in 9th standard, you can finish your 10th standard and you can join the society, the wonderful society of devotees. However, I had some very deep desire to pursue a material career. So I told them that I would like to finish my career, my engineering career, and then after that I will think about it. So I finished my 10th standard in Mumbai, and then I got admission to college, one of the local colleges here. I wanted to pursue my bachelor's of engineering. So after some entrance examination, I got admission into Banaras Hindu University engineering. I finished my BTech there in electronics engineering after 5 years of study. By the mercy of Krishna and the Vaishnavas, I could do well in my studies, and I had still the desire to study more. So since I was doing good in the exam and I also passed the entrance exam to going to admission in foreign countries, I applied, and by the Lord's mercy I got admission into several colleges. So when I told the leaders of the temple about this desire, they encouraged me that yes, you can study, but if you go to a country, the Western country like US, it will be very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness, and especially it may be very difficult to follow the 4 regulative principles. So the devotees encouraged me that you should go to the particular college where you can have good association of devotees. So I searched through the Back to Godhead magazine to find out the list of the centers, and I also checked what are the universities which were willing to give me admission. And it so happened that in Houston, there is a very nice Krishna temple. Of course, now it's very big. At that time, it was a very small temple with the deities of Sri Gaur Nitai, and there under the direction of Sri Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, the devotees were practicing Krishna consciousness. So at that time, Sridhar Maharaj was one of the leaders in Jehu temple, and His Grace Bhima Prabhu also was there. So they both encouraged me that this will be a good place for you, because here you will have simultaneously association of devotees, and at the same time you can continue your studies of engineering. So Sridhar Maharaj very kindly called up the temple in America and told them to give me permission to stay with the devotees. So I was staying with the devotees and regularly going to do my studies also. And when I went to US, I could see a completely different picture. As many students go, I was also going for a material career. But then I saw that so many students are there, and although they are all studying very nicely, hardly anybody knew what the purpose of life is and where they are going. I could also see that among those who are so-called settled in life also, in America, there was great degrees of depression and dissatisfaction with the material values. So I was thinking that I have come here to get something high. But here also, people are not really satisfied. And then I started studying Srila Prabhupada's books more seriously. I always had access to Srila Prabhupada's books. And as I told earlier, I had heard Srila Prabhupada directly in the year 1977. The year in which I went to America was 1984, which is 7 years later. And now I was a little more older and more mature to understand that actually Bharatvarsha, the land of India, has the greatest treasure of the knowledge of spiritual books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So along with my materialistic studies, I started studying these books deeply, trying to understand the purpose of life, the existence of the soul, and how one can come closer to the ultimate reality, which is Krishna. So as I started studying these books more depth, I understood that actually what Srila Prabhupada is presenting is the highest truth. He is giving one entrance to the realm of a region of reality which is beyond birth and death. I was thinking that this material knowledge no doubt will help me to get a good material career where I can earn a lot of material wealth and a lot of material facilities. But then this will not help me to solve the problems of birth, death, old age and disease. Srila Prabhupada explains that the real problem is not lack of poverty, no, not poverty or lack of wealth or lack of education or technology. The real problem is birth, old age, disease and death. And these problems can only be solved by understanding the spiritual dimension of life, which is that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told this to Sanatana Goswami while giving him teachings on the bank of the river Ganga at Varanasi. He said, Jivera Sarupahai Krishnera Nityadas. The living entity is eternally a servant of Krishna. Because we have forgotten this most important principle, we are wandering in this material world like a person who has forgotten his relationship with his wealthy parents and is moving about in a poverty-stricken condition, helpless, suffering. So, by reading Srila Prabhupada books in great depth, I could understand that the greatest contribution that I can do to society is to imbibe these principles of Bhagavad Gita and distribute them to all mankind. So I became more serious in my chanting, and at that time one very nice sannyasi Gunagrahi Maharaj was staying in the temple and preaching. So he encouraged me. He said, you are studying in a university. The university where I was studying in America was called Rice University, which is in a city called Houston in the state of Texas, in the southern part of the United States of America. And he encouraged me that now you are getting good understanding of this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So why don't you start some preaching activities in your college? So as you know, in some of the universities, it is difficult to preach Krishna consciousness in an open way. So I was encouraged to start some preaching for students. At that time, I also met His Holiness Srila Radhanath Maharaj in America, and he was one of the main persons who guided me. He suggested to me that we should start something like a vegetarian club, a club where students who are interested in vegetarian cooking and eating can come together. So every week we would have these classes called Rice Vegetarian Gourmet Club, and devotees from the temple would bring different items and also teach the students how to cook. Because the students in America, many of them may not even have seen how the puris are made. So they become very fascinated to see something, a small piece of flour turning into a floated puri. And then the students would become attracted. Said, "Oh, very nice cooking. What is your philosophy?" And then we would tell them gradually about the science of the soul and the science of God. So, in this way, many of the resident students became interested in Krishna consciousness. So, I finished my master's degree, which took me about 2.5 years, from 1984 till about 1987. And then during my studies there, I met many professors who also became quite interested after reading Srila Prabhupada's books. I would say the association of devotees in both in India and abroad, especially the association of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That was my greatest fortune, to hear from him directly during the last years of his manifest pastime. And then later the association of devotees in America, plus the studies of Bhagavad Gita, especially the guidance of Srila Radhanath Maharaj and Srila Gunagrahi Maharaj, and the association of the devotees in Houston. All of these combined together made it possible for me to take Krishna consciousness as the most important part of my life. So after I finished my studies in the year 1987, I had the choice to either work in America or to join Krishna consciousness full time. So I consulted the devotees, and they suggested that since you have interest in the spiritual life, and the whole world is suffering, not for a lack of computer or lack of technology, but the whole world is suffering because of lack of Krishna consciousness. So why don't you dedicate yourself to giving this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of the soul, to others? So I took this mission very seriously, and my Guru Maharaj told me that the problems of this world cannot be solved by any material solution. The only way this problem can be solved is by sincere chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I started chanting and distributing the holy name. There is a nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, Kalu nasteva 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 gatarnita. That in this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way, except the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name. In words, not by jnana, knowledge, or yoga, or pranayam, or by karma, fruitive activities, can one attain the perfection of life. The perfection of life can be attained simply by chanting Hare Krishna with the quality of sincerity, with proper feelings, with attention, and with great humility. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged us to all to chant in a humble state of mind. So after hearing all these teachings, since the year 1987 till now, 2014, I decided to dedicate myself to spreading the holy name of Krishna. After my visa expired, I returned back to India, and when I returned back to Bombay, it was the year 1989, and Radha Gopinath temple had just started. So we had a Pune Yatra, and after this Yatra, I was told to go to Kurukshetra to help with the preaching there. So I went to Kurukshetra, and I was there as a full-time devotee. For some time I was in Kurukshetra Engineering College also, teaching both computers as well as Krishna consciousness. And then later on I came back to Radha Gopinath temple in Chowpatty and joined full-time. After a few years there, then I was in Pune, and then later on I was given the service of traveling and preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in summary, it was the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada and their disciples that brought me to the lotus feet of Krishna. It is said that Brahmand Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Beej. That so many the living entities wandering in so many millions of species of life, and out of all those living beings, one who is fortunate, he alone by the mercy of Guru and Krishna can receive the seed of bhakti. So I'm very grateful to our founder Acharya's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada, and to their representatives, especially His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and all other great devotees who have actually given me a direction in life, a hope, not only for my self-purification, but also for helping others. One can help a person in different way. If we give some person a material help, that is certainly very kind and very laudable. But such help is temporary. On the other hand, if we can help another person come closer to Krishna by inspiring him to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If we can ourselves chant the holy name and inspire others sincerely, then certainly that is the greatest welfare activity. So I am very thankful to Srila Prabhupada and their representatives for showing me a direction in life, which is a direction which takes one beyond darkness to the point of light. Tamasoma Jyotirgama, a direction where the soul can gradually lift itself up from the bottom part of the material world up to the spiritual world. By regularly reading the literature of Srila Prabhupada, especially Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and by associating with the devotees who live by these principles, and of course by chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, one can attain the topmost perfection of life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.